What is up guys? I've got something exciting to share with you today. I've been pouring my creativity into a new project and now it's time to give my space a whole new vibe. So let's get started. I started by visualizing where my bed and nightstand were going to be by using painter's tape. I plan to have the center of the bed aligned with the center of the TV, but also to give me a rough idea for my accent wall. It did take me a few tries to get it right. I'm marking the studs and outlining where I'm going to be cutting the drywall, so later I can reattach the same drywall to the stud. I'm going to add a 2x6 brace for the TV so it can be perfectly centered. I'm aware there is another TV mount that only requires to be screwed into one stud, but I prefer this method. I also doubled the brace on each side of the 2x4 for extra strength by using wood glue and construction screws. There are awkward space limitations, so I use pocket holes. Since I have this open space in the wall, I took this chance to put in a new electrical box that can be screwed into the stud instead of using the rental box that grips onto the drywall. I used my multi-tool to cut out the drywall for the receptacle box. To run the wire, I cut another hole in the drywall underneath the receptacle where I'm going to take the power from. I need to be extra careful not to cut the wire. I am using 14-2 Romex. Under the Canadian Electrical Code, you are required to have a minimum of 6 inches or a maximum of 8 inches. Or what I like to do is I use my pinky finger and my thumb to measure how much sheathing needs to be cut off. And also required to leave a bit of sheathing exposed in the box. So you ground the bare copper to the box and then the green terminal on the receptacle. The white conductor goes to the silver screw terminal and the black goes to the brass. Prior to the electrical code, if the connection method is to use the screw terminal, then make a hoop and hook it under the terminal, and it must be in a clockwise manner, so it grabs the conductor. That way, you have a good connection. This isn't required, but for good practice, I use electrical tape to cover the terminals. Now, when giving power to the new receptacle, you must turn off the breaker. Do not work on the receptacle while the power is still on. I use a circuit finder, which you can find on Amazon, and I'll list the products and equipments I used in the description below. To remove all the wires to the receptacle because they weren't terminated properly, neither was it grounded. Due to the limitation in the box, I could not pigtail the connection, so I used the backstabbing method. Hole for the Ethernet wall plate. drilled a half-inch hole with a 12-inch masonry bit with my Milwaukee drill on the hammer setting. My modem is located in the living room. I ran the waterproof Cat 6 Ethernet cable outside of the house. I have a dead receptacle with no power, so I just joined the ground with the ground, white with the white, black with the black by using barrette and electrical tape, and then I capped the box. You'll see me jumping in between different tasks throughout the project, but this is to keep the flow going. I pre-drilled the holes for the mounts so that way when I paint my room, I wouldn't need to measure the center and make new markings again. I use fishing tape to run the wire up and across to connect to the wall plate. But before I do that, I needed to put the connection in for the Ethernet. It took me 2 hours. This was really time consuming. If you plan on doing this, then follow this diagram. I use this cable tester and the number sequence needs to go from 1 to 8. Now I'm going to put in this wall plate for my PC. I removed the blinds to put in temporary blinds, so I can remove the trim because I'm going to take this chance to properly insulate the gap in between the stud and the window. This will sort of stop the cold air from getting in. The insulation cure till the next day. In the meantime, I made the border for the accent wall. The next day I cut off the excess foam and sanded down some of the areas, then reinstalled the trim. Now time for the accent wall. I tried to get equal spacing between each board, but this was a real pain. This took me 8 attempts to get it correct. There is a formula to get the exact measurements for spacing, but that only works if the wall is completely square. In this case, it wasn't. I use normal nails caulking to secure the board to the wall, along with few brad nails, since none of my boards align with the stud. I established my center board first, then I used the spacer that I made, so my measurement was 22 and 15/16 of an inch. But my spacing for the outer two spacing on each side was around 23¼ inch. I use Drydex Spackle to cover the joints and nail holes for a seamless finish. See, I avoided 2 boards that were temporarily in place because I needed to cut them to fit accordingly with my wall-mounted nightstand. decided to put a low voltage pass-through cable plate for my soundbar, just to hide the wires. I keep scrap pieces of wood in the garage for things like this, to repair drywall. Finally, I could start repairing the drywall and use drywall compound with 90 minutes of working time. To sand down the joints for the accent wall, I use a 180 grit sanding block, then I reapplied Drydex again where needed, then let it dry and sand it down with a 220 grit sanding block. As for the drywall repair, I used 150 grit sandpaper. I forgot to hit record for the second coat, but I reapplied the drywall compound for a second coat and then sanded it down with a 180 grit. My mom was very happy with the amount of dust on the floor. I vacuumed the ceiling and the walls so I don't have airborne dust that I've sanded that settled on the wall or ceiling, so I know the walls are prepped for paint. I can finally start prepping for paint by taping and rolling out the masking paper. Before I start to paint, I need to do the caulking around the edges for the accent wall, so it blends into the wall when painted. I'm using Alex Flex made for trims, which does not crack over time. I try my best not to waste materials, so whatever excess there was, I used my finger and smudged it to whichever edge needed caulking. Using Geddy's Gray, which is perfect balance between black and white pigments. I prep my accent wall first because I'm going to be using my paint sprayer. real-time footage of how quick it is to get the whole wall painted. I sped it up a bit after. This only took about 5 minutes to get the first coat on. So the sprayer requires you to hold it about 6 to 12 inches away from the wall and at the same angle, but it's not that easy. Either way, it got the job done. It's best to overlap the material by 50% as you go. I'll give you equal coverage. I reapply the second coat an hour and a half later. As I removed the masking tape, it did peel some of the paint off from the accent wall, and I went back with a brush for a touch-up after I finished painting the ceiling and the wall. Once I covered my accent wall, I started to paint my wall, ceiling, door, and trims in the same color. I'm using a very popular color, which is White Dove, which complements Geddy's Gray. Both paint are by Benjamin Moore. And yes, I painted the door handle, since I'm putting a new one. Due to the bad lighting since I removed my pot lights, I didn't film the second coat. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. It may look too simple right now, but I'll slowly start adding things to the room. If you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.